Yeah. Hi, it's me, Andrzej. Sorry, I'm already in a bit of a vacation mood, but that's because 2 wild weeks of my trips for tests have just ended. And today was so hot that I had to take off that suit and just air out a little. Why did I get so hot? Well, because of this motorcycle. I mean, why else? Would it be any different? KTM Superduke 1290R, how do they say it? Beast 3.0, Bestia 3.0, which, as they claim, these are those American words, versus Polish words, ultimate naked bike, meaning the top naked bike. The best one? Well, that's hard to say. Either way, this is their idea of creating the best naked bike in history. And it really depends on how you look at it, because if we're talking about excitement, popping wheelies and riding fast, then it really is. It's actually really funny. In my opinion, we're living in very interesting times, because the previous Superduke, I even mentioned this in a video somewhere on Facebook in my first impressions. It was like, yeah, it's cool, but also terrifying. I would return it and be glad I no longer had it in my garage, because that motorcycle was basically only good for going wild. This one is also for going wild, but it has something extra track riding, because today in Portimao we were riding this motorcycle really, really, really fast. As the guys from KTM say, the beast. And they're right. Damn, when that motorcycle came up to me today, it was unbelievable. Like today, on the straight, I just couldn't hold back. And there's this dip there. In fifth gear, you were riding, and it was enough the bike would lift on its own if you were going fast enough. And if not, you just had to lean back a little, and it would just pop a wheelie. And you'd be doing 230, 240 on the rear wheel. I had a chance to ride with Jeremy Williams, a former MotoGP rider. We were riding together, and I thought, damn, what is even happening right now? Landing without any drama and then slicing into the corner. Oh, Jesus. I'm just now remembering what it was like to ride both tight corners and fast ones, because here in Portimao, there are really a lot of those turns where you have to attack them really fast, just fly through. And this motorcycle was simply stable and honestly very, very good. Interestingly, when it comes to electronics, wheelie control is very important. Wheelie control is just on or off, there's no adjustments. And KTM says, hey, either you know how to ride on the rear wheel or you don't. All in all, it's pretty cool, because with the anti-wheelie turned on, the bike will lift a little, but it's not like you give it gas and it'll pop up right on the wheel and then come down. It'll just be a weak little lift. And if you turn it off, trust me, learn how to use that brake. It's really very sharp, appropriate for the power and potential of this motorcycle. But today on this track, I was constantly using that rear brake just to keep the front wheel on the ground, because there was a lot going on. There were also cases where someone didn't know how to do it, and luckily nothing happened to anyone. Damn, I saw it. Whoa. Phew, you just have to be careful when riding a motorcycle and know your limits. Because the truth is, this motorcycle isn't for people who don't know how to ride. And this applies not only to the absurd power and performance, but also to the electronics, because we were riding with traction control set to number 5. It's cool that it's separated from the wheelie control, and there are these nice buttons here to adjust it while riding. I rode on level 654, and once I tried 3, and even at level 5, when I was fully leaned over and gave it gas, the rear could still slide out on me. And it's funny, because when the rear slid out on me, I kept the throttle open, just holding it wide open, and it would slide, then catch. And I could feel that the motorcycle was being held by the traction control, not in a harsh way. And only when it came back forward. There were also moments when I felt that I had too much traction control set, and I was just going through a corner and could feel the bike being held back. So you really have to learn how to use the traction control, because a few times I noticed it kicking in. I could just feel the grip at the rear, and when I was modulating the throttle myself, the bike would come out of the corner with this really nice little slide. So this is electronics that doesn't do things for you, plain and simple. It supports you when needed, but in reality, it requires you to have riding skills if you want to go really, really fast. And what's interesting is that, in my opinion, the sport bikes I've ridden recently, like the Panigale, for example, and the Honda Fibre, they are set up almost exclusively for the track these days. They have extreme riding positions, the engine characteristics are wild, and these bikes are set up simply to perform on racetracks. And for everyday user, let's be honest, 200 horsepower, 217 and 224. Who really needs that? And that's where the KTM Superduke R comes in with 180 horsepower and 140 Newton meters of torque, which is actually more than those sport bikes because it has 140 Newton meters, while those bikes have around 120, maybe a bit more. And the Superduke delivers that at just 4,500 RPM. So you get the usefulness of this machine, for example, in everyday life. Besides that, back when it used to lag behind on the track, now in the hands of a skilled rider, I think it will really keep up because it doesn't lack speed on the straights like naked bikes used to. It was hitting 270 today. If I could exit the corner better, if I knew how to do it better, then I think we could even hit 280. So the difference isn't that huge anymore because the sport bike would probably hit 299. That doesn't change the fact that what's interesting here is that it's possible that naked bikes will soon take the place of sport motorcycles, machines that are extremely fast on the street and on the track, but at the same time offer a bit of comfort for traveling. And you do get that comfort on this motorcycle because the suspension is excellently tuned. Of course, it's stiff, but it still absorbs bumps. And what's interesting is that these fairings are positioned just right. Everything is angled in such a way that the aerodynamics really work. And today, while we were riding, I honestly thought my head was going to get blown off. Before coming here, I specifically took a really tight Schubert helmet so my head wouldn't wobble around. But when you lean forward, the air somehow magically flows around you. And when we were riding stupidly fast on the street, I didn't really feel any pressure on my chest. So it's honestly a very funny and interesting technology. There's a lot of technology involved, production technology, engineering. There's a lot of smart engineering in this motorcycle because 90% of it is new, as I've already mentioned. First and foremost, the frame has been reinforced because the previous Superduke would shake like crazy. And I thought, well, that's just how it's supposed to be after all. A brutally powerful naked bike should shake like crazy. But now KTM has decided, okay, let's do it a little better. So the frame is in some areas even 3 times stiffer. And look, there's even this crossbar here going straight from here to the headstock, and it's extremely, extremely rigid. It's nice that there are finally no more of those stickers that used to peel off. It's great that the display finally has a good resolution. It's very pleasant to use. It's also nice that the buttons are finally comfortable because on the previous models, they looked like they came from model airplanes. It looked really tacky when there were those, unfinished bits of plastic left over. Now everything here is really top notch. The suspension has been reconfigured, and in my opinion, it worked great on the track up until, well, actually it worked great the whole time. But at one point I tried the performance version with WP inserts on slicks. And honestly, if I were to get a Superduke, I'd invest in that suspension right away. If I were to ride it on the track with slicks, because it really is that good. The brakes are also excellent. There are also some cool extra buttons here, which I'll write about in the magazine, because right now there's just no time. There's so much to describe here that, you really need to sit down and think it all through calmly. Here, there's a completely new intake. You'll find out about all of this, all of it. What's important is that the electronics are really, really good. Above all, the ABS in the Supermoto version. Everyone says that when Euro 5 standards come into effect, it won't be possible to turn off the ABS on the rear wheel. But all you need to do is create a plug mode, like the track mode on this motorcycle, and put the Supermoto ABS mode there so it works. But actually, I think Supermoto ABS is available in every mode. Well, anyway, either way, if you want to, you can set it up like that. And then the ABS isn't just in the cornering version, because in the road mode with cornering ABS, you can grab the brake lever even while leaned over, whereas Supermoto ABS only reacts when the front wheel locks up. So you can do stoppies, slide through corners, and things like that. Those slides weren't actually that easy because I expected to be sliding around a lot on this bike, but this machine generates such incredible grip that it really wasn't easy at all. I would have to push the limit even further, which I wasn't really keen on doing, but I just needed to get more used to it. But the whole chassis, together with the suspension and those brilliant tires, because it has to be said, the Bridgestone S22S are out of this world. They really are out of this world tires, because we weren't actually riding much slower on them than we would on slicks. And honestly, most of it was just in our heads. When you have slicks, you just lean the bike over and don't really worry about it. But this is supposedly a street tire. Yeah, the more I pushed it, the harder I pushed it. It turned out it just kept performing. So here it's also really, really cool that we can basically buy these tires for pretty much anything, because even though they're technically for this motorcycle, those are just details. What else? The brakes themselves, amazing, obviously. In my opinion, the lever could have more adjustment options, because I was riding with it set as close as possible, so the lever would be near my hand. And on the track, the brakes worked great, but on the street it was still a bit too far for me. I prefer it when it's a bit closer. So that's just something to nitpick about. Keyless system. Now that's interesting. Look here, you have a aluminum subframe and all of this is composite. It's very light. It weighs 800 grams. And here it can withstand a ton of pressure. So I don't know what we'd have to load onto this motorcycle, but they tested it with a hydraulic press and it withstood a ton. So that's actually pretty funny. Overall, the motorcycle weighs 189 kilograms, which is quite a good result for a naked bike with a steel frame. The quickshifter works great, and the lever is immediately set up for track riding. Just unscrew one bolt, screw it in a different spot, and the lever instantly gives you reverse gears. Even after installing the lever, nothing else changes. So there's a lot of smart technology here. The injectors are very interestingly designed in this motorcycle. A lot of things. Yeah, that's it. Cool bike, a really cool bike. I wasn't a big fan of the Superduke before, but I'm starting to come around the condition that it's used on the track, because on the street it's just stupid fast, really stupid fast to ride this motorcycle on the street. And in my opinion, the 800, the 890 that's coming will be much better there. But if you're a fan of track days, you can really go for it on this one, you really can. That's it. Of course, as always, there's more in the magazine. Oh! I almost forgot about stunts, because stunts, since I'm at a KTM presentation, are allowed in closed environments, like when we were on the parking lot, for example. When it comes to stoppies, it's great, because the steering head angle is more favorable for stoppies than in the first Superduke R. If you mess up, it still goes along nicely. Of course, I did it best when no one was filming, but if I practiced on this bike, you could really pull off some serious distances. And interestingly, when it comes to riding on the rear wheel, when it comes to slow wheelies, this engine, despite its absurd torque and power, is actually manageable. At low revs, you hold it, work the brake, it goes brr, then you pull the clutch, scrape the license plate, and it turns out the rear brake is so strong that when I pressed it, I actually kissed the gauges here, but you just need to get a feel for all of this. Nevertheless, maybe this motorcycle isn't really suited for everything. It's not exactly for dancing or for church, so to speak. So overall, it's a motorcycle for dancing and for both stunt, street, and track versions. Interesting to see what will happen, because there are other very powerful naked bikes coming, and we'll see if they might really completely replace sport bikes altogether. That's it. The rest is in the magazine. I invite you to check it out. It will be written up intelligently. Well, I don't know if it will be intelligent. You'll be the judge of that, but I warmly invite you nonetheless. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, like, and do all those things. And we're preparing some really interesting stuff for you as the motorcycle world. So keep following us. Best regards.